Call to order the regular meeting of the Rio Dell City Council. Roll call, please.
Mayor Garn.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Carter.
Here.
Councilmember Orr.
Here.
Councilmember Wilson.
Here.
Councilmember Woodall.
And we are returning from closed session and there is nothing to report out. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Public presentations. This is the time for persons who wish to address the council on any matter not on this agenda and over which the council has jurisdiction. As such, a dialogue with the council or staff is not allowed under the Ralph M. Brown Act. Items requiring council actions not listed on this agenda may be placed on the next regular agenda for consideration if the council directs, unless a finding is made by at least 2/3 of the council that the item came up after the agenda was posted and is of an urgency nature requiring immediate action. Please limit comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. Rich, anything?
Nothing to report.
Okay, any hands raised? Any emails? And we will close public comments and move to the consent calendar. Is there anyone who would like to remove an item from the consent calendar? Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
The motion and a second? Motion. Why is that red light on? Motion carries 4-0.
What's your, button? The opposite.
Yeah, it's not. Now we will move on to staff communications. City manager, page 22 in our packets.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Garnes, members of the council. So we have kind of an abbreviated staff report or staff update for this session. I will say we weathered the most recent storm system fairly well in Rio Dell compared to some of the other neighboring areas. No major long-term power outages in town, and relatively few traffic incidents in this particular area. And also the wastewater system held up well throughout the storm, so that was very good. Other than that, I don't have a whole lot more to report on, but we're happy to answer any questions that the council may have.
Thank you, city manager. Mayor Pro Tem?
No questions. I just want to say thank you to city staff and public works in particular. I think about you guys every time it rains, and I don't do laundry or run the dishwasher when it's pouring. Yeah, thank you. That's it.
Councilmember Orr?
Nothing.
Councilmember Wilson?
Yes, I just had it's not listed here, but to the city manager. Noticed in the voting process today, and I've had some other conversations, that we no longer do it in Rio Dell. We have to go to Fortuna or the voting center in the council. Yeah, I'd like to request that staff pursue getting if nothing else, at least a drop-off site, but possibly a voting center in Rio Dell, which would benefit Scotia and Stafford and a lot of local people besides just Rio Dell.
So I'll go ahead and reach out to Juan Cervantes, who's the clerk registrar of voters, and see if he can fill us in with some of the details on that. I don't have a lot of information to provide at this point, but happy to look that up.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Any hands raised? Emails? Then we will close staff reports and move on to special call items. Authorize the city manager to develop and issue bid for 2024 street resurfacing work. Page 25 in our packet. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor Garnes and members of the council. So on page 27 is just a rough outline of the site locations and dimensions for this particular proposed project. As the council is well aware, we have earthquake related damages that have been subdivided into two categories. Essentially, Federal Highway Authority streets, which do not appear on this list and will not be a part of this bid, is the damages to Blue Slide, Bellevue, Pacific, and Monument roads. Those are handled under a separate funding stream through actually the federal government and Caltrans with a slightly higher reimbursement rate, but a much longer process to pull those particular projects off. So those will come back at a separate time in the future. So what we're talking about here primarily are the impetus for this is the earthquake repairs, most specifically on Aloha out by CC Market, Riverside, and some damage on, well, it's mostly Aloha and Riverside. Excuse me, sorry. Riverside spot repairs for including some manhole repairs and then pavement around some of the deformations, sinkholes and whatnot that had popped up as a result of the earthquake. Also in this year's budget, the council appropriated $100,000 for pavement repairs. And the reasoning behind that primarily was that one street in particular has been taken off our no pave list, which is Elm Street over by the coffee shop and DJ's Burger and the U-Haul spot. And that road has been on our pavement project list for a while, except that it had lines that need to be replaced. So those lines have been replaced as a result of the earthquake, total failure in that small section. And so when construction went in there earlier last year to do those repairs, so that's off the list and can be paved. And that's really the bulk of this particular bid is that particular section. In discussing with the street superintendent, we're recommending adding some additional spot repairs to a couple different locations. One is just adjacent to Elm Street on Wildwood Avenue. There is a section of pavement that is deteriorating faster than other sections. It also recently had a diesel spill on it over the summer, which accelerates the damage to that pavement section. But there were problems with it before. The city had patched it before. And it also gets us more into preparation for a potential slurry seal down the road if we have the financing available to do that. There would also be improvements to just some small sections on Center Street near the school with deformed pavement sections, Rigby and Rigby Street for some minor spot repairs in those locations. The plan, if the council authorizes the city manager to go ahead and issue the bid, is obviously we have more work to do in terms of prepping the material and getting the engineer to put together some plan specs for this particular project. But we would essentially put it out to bid, and then the next time the council would see it would be around bid award time. The idea being that the earthquake work would be the primary work that we need to have accomplished. And then the other items would be additive items that we will have the option of peeling back on in case they're just insanely expensive. So with that, it ties back to kind of the council's pavement priority list and not wanting to pave streets that we, have to immediately dig up, or we know are immediately going to need to be dug up. And so after our capital project for the water system, this coming year here in 2024. We should have a slurry of new streets, that come off of that list, that then, can be paid. But one of the big questions is gonna be financing of those pavement projects, since we have, potential issues related to the general fund being able to cover those. We also still have pending work for the Monument Road slip out from the 2017 storm damage, for which we're partnering with the county on those particular costs, and that reimbursement period can be extremely long before we ever see money back from the federal government. Let alone obviously even getting the projects into position for building. And then we also obviously have, some other damage related issues that the general fund might have to pick up some of the slack for. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that the council may have, and we'll turn it back to the mayor.
Thank you, city manager. I had a question because it wasn't on here and I think it belongs to Caltrans, but the, Painter Street overpass where it broke after the concrete's all broken up after the earthquake. Can you address that?
Yeah, so we have that one lined up for a STIP grant, not related to the earthquake. We've been working on that for a number of years. And we were awarded, between $700,000 and $800,000 for sidewalk expansion in that area, primarily around the school. It's not a Safe Routes to School project, but it's very similar to a Safe Routes to School project, where there would be sidewalks installed in that particular location. We know that there has been a strong need for a crosswalk to also be added diagonally across Painter Street at that location. So that sidewalk is on that schedule to be grant funded, to be repaired, for there to also be an ADA landing and a crosswalk across that section. So it will be improved. We are essentially in the funding for that project has been allocated, the engineering portion of it. So that work is underway. There may be some right of way work that needs to be done, possibly, but unlikely. And then from there, hopefully we'll see construction on the project, not this summer, but sometime soon.
Thank you.
No questions, thank you.
Councilmember Ward, Councilmember Wilson?
Are any of this coverings, slurry seal and stuff covered with that? Some of the grants that we were reimbursement, are any of these covered under that?
So slurry sealing would not be covered.
Earthquake.
Yeah, not for the earthquake. We did get crack sealing on the FHA sections of road, so you may have noticed on Bellevue, a little bit on Pacific and Monument, that there was a crew that came through and did some crack sealing, including up on Blue Slide Road. But it won't cover slurry sealing those roads.
All right, no other question.
Thank you. Are there any hands raised? Are there any emails? Rich, nothing? Okay, then, what are we doing? Is there a motion to authorize the city manager to develop and issue a bid for the 2024 surface street resurface work?
So moved.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
A motion and a second. Motion carries 4-0. And that brings us to the second reading by title only and adoption of ordinance number 404-2024, amending the Rio Dell Municipal Code, establishing a cannabis cultivation tax guarantee. Page 28 in our packets. City manager.
Thank you, Mayor Dorrance, members of the council. At this time, staff is going to be recommending that we continue this item to your meeting of March 19th. And to not adopt at this point in time. We did receive just recently some additional comments from the city attorney that we want to incorporate into the final adopted measures. So the recommendation is that the council just go ahead and continue this to the next regular meeting.
Recommended, is that a vote I need?
I think we will need a board, council direction.
Okay, is there a motion to continue?
So
We have a second? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Motion to continue, carries 4-0. Now we'll come to council reports and communication.
you're ready, okay. That's me, right? Okay. I went to a Chamber of Commerce meeting. I don't have a ton to report from there, other than we have formed another little tiny subcommittee within the chamber to try to modernize and actually come up with new creative ways to help our businesses in town. We haven't met yet, but we're trying. The Resource Center is holding a volunteer fair on Wednesday, the 13th of this month from 5 to 7 p.m. A bunch of organizations who are looking for volunteers are gonna come, set up and, showcase themselves and try to recruit some volunteers from our community. So anybody who's listening or watching or here, if you really, would like even just an hour a week of your time that can be donated to, local organizations, that would be a wonderful place to come learn about some people around here that are looking for volunteers.
And what day is that?
That is Wednesday, March 13th, 5 to 7 p.m. I'll be there manning 2 different tables. I am now on the board of directors for COAD, that is Community Organizations Active in Disaster. We just had our first meeting. It was mostly introductory. But as we move forward, I am very excited to have a voice for our community on that board of directors. So I'm really happy about that. I also went to a REDA meeting where we got a giant update about efforts to bring open access broadband to the community. I'm not gonna go into a bunch of details, but if anybody is interested in any updates on that or needs contact information from the lady who is heading up the charge for the last 25 years, she's a pretty impressive person. So, feel free to ask me about that. I attended over this past weekend the Blue Lake Rancheria's disaster preparedness class, and it was very, very good. And it's not just because we got good stuff. The education was very good, and I was happy to be there. This coming weekend, I'll be in Willits for a meeting of the Cal Cities Redwood Empire Division. I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Orr?
Nothing in an official capacity, but I want to say congratulations to Monument Middle School. This weekend they went to the JC basketball and cheer tournament up in Crescent City, and both teams placed, so well done.
Well done.
Nice.
Councilmember Wilson?
Yeah, the only thing I have is on the RCEA board, they have a citizens advisory committee that they're reaching out, that people can be on that to give input to RCEA, and Rio Dell has a designated spot. Yeah, we had a gentleman that was on it and he moved away. So there's an opening on that board, and that goes out to anybody in the Rio Dell community that's interested in being on that RCEA advisory committee. Along with all the other jurisdictions have somebody on that advisory one. Yeah, they get together and talk about a lot of different things that they can pass on to RCEA, which is Redwood Coast Energy Authority, that you all see in your bill, so that you're aware of what they're doing with their money and how they can spend it. So anyhow, if you're interested in that, you get hold of Kyle, and he can get hold of me, or get hold of me directly, and I'll get you an application form.
Is there a time frame for the application?
That they meet, I think it's like quarterly, they meet every couple, 3 months. And I think it's a couple hour meeting, with it.
Thank you. And I, attend tomorrow, I will be attending the, HTA meeting in Eureka. Friday, I'll be at the Willits, the Redwood Empire Division Willits meeting. And, I just wanted to remind people, I think it's is it the 19th when the AT&T, the Public Utilities Commission? Not sure.
I don't.
I think it's before the next meeting, so I can't say it. But as I attended the Disaster Preparedness Academy, and it was really good. I wanted to thank Humboldt Area Foundation that, provided a grant so that we could have, lunch for both days. There was, one day, Saturday was for English speaking, Saturday was for anyone. Sunday was for, Spanish, speakers, so there didn't need to be translation. It was, they were taught in Spanish, and it went really well. I think I went in the morning and, at lunch, and everyone seemed to be very happy. I practiced a little Spanish, questionable, but I think I did okay, all said and done. And I also wanted to thank, Blue Lake Rancheria. Blue Lake is who had, provided the grant for the training. And they provided the bags that we got, the Disaster Academy, the disaster kit bag that we had. They were like, it was like a $200, with all the stuff in it bag, with, power banks, lanterns, a gas turnoff tool, and so on. I mean, it was a very well put together, a bag. And it wasn't a prize at the end. Every single person who was enrolled in the class got one. And so that was a great expense to Blue Lake. And it was a really excellent grant. And that they were willing, they actually reached out, talked to me, and that's how we got it all set up. But, Blue Lake offers a lot of disaster training, a lot of emergency training. If anyone can take advantage of it in the community, you can sign up for their newsletter, so that you can know when these, events are gonna happen. But, they are definitely worth, going to. I have gone to, I think, 3 or 4 of them, and they've always been worth going to. So I just wanted to thank Blue Lake for that, and I wanted to thank, Humboldt Area Foundation, for feeding us, basically.
Yeah, it was a nice touch, yeah.
And Mayor Dorns, the California Public Utilities Commission hearings related to AT&T landline service, the March 19th from 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. And those are remote meetings, so the only in-person meeting scheduled between now and then is March 14th, but that's in Indio, down in Southern California. So March 19th is the virtual meeting.
And I'm sure if someone wants to Zoom into it, can they call here for the?
So, yeah, where you would want to go is to the CPUC website.
Okay,
And they'll have a link to the Zoom. I don't think it's actually on Zoom. It is through
okay,
a separate system, but they do have that.
okay, and that's
option.
if you go to the California Public Utilities Commission website, there will be a link to the AT&T meeting, the meeting regarding AT&T and the company of last resort, which is the landline service. When you're rural communities are going to really be the most affected, because we're the ones who have the least redundancy and the least really strong cell service and towers and all that stuff. So it's very important, if anyone who's watching this, if you can go and attend, listen, participate, ask a question, because this will directly and negatively affect rural communities. So, March 19th, 2 o'clock, California Public Utilities Commission website. Follow the link and join in if you can. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A motion, is there a second?
Second.
No, we don't have to vote on that.
Oh,
right?
no, we have a motion and a second. Meeting adjourned until March 19th.